halfway in Half Moon Bay on our circumnavigation of the South Island of New Zealand. We'd all been waiting 13 days for a respectable weather window to open up, and the day finally arrived. A passage of 86 nautical miles at the standard estimate of 4 knots. Boat speed went around 22 hours at sea, and we were focused on the tides to help us for the first stretch northwest over the top of Stewart Island, timing the arrival at that point for a favourable tidal stream to westward. Departing Oban at 8:30 in the morning allowed last minute supplies to be collected ashore, because from there on out there was going to be no shops, no landlines, no mobile reception, not much civilization, meaning few people, until essentially rounding the top of the South Island at Farewell Spit in a few weeks' time. Fiordland is still a wilderness, a huge wilderness. That's many people's motivation for going there. It was certainly mine, and most of the folks aboard the accompanying vessels too. It's either that or cod and crayfish, or tourism, or the tourism service sector. There was no wind, and it really didn't matter. The glassy water highlighted the mollyhawk albatrosses and the blue penguins swimming about, and we made really good progress. Warren jumped aboard Toronto this time for company, and as we set out into it from Stewart Island's northwestern cape in the afternoon, 3 yachts came together, clearly all with the same idea concerning the tidal stream. It's great to be sailing in good company. When Endrick's brick red sails came up over the horizon behind us, I put a little bit more effort into sail trimming. As night fell, there was a good distance between us all heading for Puysegur Point Lighthouse and Preservation Inlet. Research I'd made prior was pointing me towards entering Otago Retreat, just to the northwest of the lighthouse, into sheltered shallow water and a sandy bottom on the eastern side of Coal Island. Smallish issue was the really narrow entrance, combined with an uncharted rocky coastline to the south of the entrance around the lighthouse. In fact, there's a lot of uncharted rocky coastline in those parts. The half moon was due to set just after 3 a.m, and it was around 11ish when I did the maths that meant Toronto was only going to get there before pitch black if we stayed above 3.5 knots. So that's what we did, and boy, we only just made it. GPS and chart plotters are fantastic things. I had 3 functional devices, no, 4 in fact, but 3 were available and turned on. The Navman chart plotter in the cockpit with CMAP charts, a laptop running OpenCPN with raster charts below, and an OpenCPN app on the tablet in my hand. But even then, I wasn't prepared to risk it without being able to see at least the outline of the hills. We'd managed to get a bit of a lead on the others in the fresh breeze. When the wind eased slightly to below the minimum, I didn't hesitate to fire up the engine either. At one point, a phantom catamaran came straight at us heading southeast without any navigation lights on. Just one dim red glowing amidships, and he sliced through our small flotilla. All 3 vessels were thankfully keeping watch. Ourselves and Endracht were actually obliged to change course for safety's sake. It was a little spooky coming out of the moonlight. The odd container ships are all well offshore. We nailed the scary gap in time and safely anchored amongst craypot buoys using a spotlight in the clear water, helping ourselves to a well-deserved whisky nightcap at 3:45 a.m. and a sound sleep. because I'd like to share something with you. Not bad, eh? Where we were parked up in the middle of the bay was in 190 metres of water. Unbelievable. And the silence was deafening. It turns out our friends hadn't been able to make the pass before the moon went down, so they hung around offshore until daybreak and then came in. We just potted around in the middle of the tranquil pond and ended up sort of drifting back towards Otago Retreat, in fact, until a bit of a sea breeze kicked in. It was almost katabatic in nature, but anyway, it blew us back down into the bay and we ended up going to behind Cemetery Island, near the lodge in the corner at Kisby Bay. And we tied up in a very tight little corner with our friends and had a bit of a celebration. The sandflies were absolutely ferocious, and I got my mosquito net out of the cupboard for the first time to try and keep the sandflies at bay. Cemetery Island, it was a massacre. It was a bloodbath, and early in the morning just could not stand it, slipped the lines and snuck away from my friends, and had just headed out to the open water and a bit of breeze to try and get rid of them. And it was kind of discussed the night before that we should all go up, or well, if you're interested, go up Long Sound. Time to copy?
Yeah, I got you there, look. We didn't go all the way, we were just around their point, but we're coming out now, we're going to head to Dusky.
Might be wise, haven't decided yet. I'm going to be back at Coal Island by 1 anyway.
Oh, okay. We didn't get a forecast, did you manage to get one?
I just got a weather fix of the situation at the moment, and there is another little low off Tasmania coming in.
Yeah, the last forecast we heard it was going to start blowing again tonight. Yeah, well, we just want to keep moving, eh? We need to, there's some more weather coming through, somebody get caught down here too low and then have to be stuck down here low and then just travel all the way. Are they going for a walk to Puysegur Light today? I'll see if I can talk to them on the way out. Well, mate, we'll see you down up the road somewhere.
Yeah, I'll try to get a call out of it.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Okay, travel safe. See you, Marty. You get me on this one? Oh, we got you there, Dennis. We're just coming out of Long Sound.
As the name suggests, it's the longest sound in all of Fiordland. And there's at the Cascade Basin, there's wonderful waterfalls and all of that, but frankly it was just too far for my little vessel to motor all that way, only to come back So I just stuck my head around the corner, managed to get some weather faxes, went back and spent a night again at Coal Island, ready to head up to Dusky Sound, which is in the next video. We did actually visit Puysegur Point Lighthouse, which is a beautiful name to try and pronounce, Puysegur. It sits at about 45 metres above sea level. It's made of cast iron, it's about 5 metres high. It's got a range of about 19 miles. It was first lit in 1879. It was automated in 1943, coincidentally the same year where there was a very famous incident. The original wooden lighthouse was actually burnt down by a demented hermit who had recently left a psychiatric hospital and who lived on the Coal Island, and he thought that the light that was shining, how often, every 12 seconds, he thought it was deliberately aimed at him, and so he went over and held the lighthouse family hostage with a rifle and burnt as much of it down as he could, and it's since been made a cast iron tower there, and he smashed radios and went a little bit crazy. It's a bit of a famous story. Beautiful spot, powerful sea, and we could see up the coast where we were going to be heading the next day.